spiritual path doesn't necessarily come in church or in the woods or in quiet contemplation. It can come in lots of different ways, at least it has for me. One of those, and certainly one of the more significant of those, was in a management school. In 1972 or 3, my boss decided that we were going to use the managerial grid as the primary team building mechanism for our company, which was a large company. He went to a managerial grid school, and then he sent all his direct reports, including me, to a managerial grid school. Just to give you a quick thumbnail sketch, managerial grid is just that, it's a grid. On that grid there are two axes. The one on one side is concern for people, and on the other it's concern for results. That's because all management really is all about getting results through people. And so the managerial grid looks at what your level of concern is for people and your level of concern for results. And so that gives you 5 different points. If you're in the lower left-hand corner, it's low concern for results and low concern for people. That's called 1-1. And that means that basically, if that's your management style, you basically just stay out of it. You don't want to be involved with people. You don't want to be involved with results. You just say, you try to pass the buck and stay out of any kind of decision making, because it's you basically want to protect yourself. If you go up the scale on that side, you get to high concern for people, but low concern for results. That's called 1-9. And this kind of manager, this management style, is indicated by people who are very concerned and caring and very nice, but they're so concerned and caring that they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. They don't want to make people feel bad. They can't be tough on them and demand that they perform or give them all the assistance that they need to have to perform. They basically just make excuses and let things go. If that person has a really highly motivated employee, they'll do very well. That employee will do very well because they do feel cared for and appreciated. However, what they will soon observe is that others on the same team who do not perform get treated the same way. And so that can be pretty demotivating if those that are not carrying their weight get the same treatment and the same compensation and everything else as you do. And so many times, highly motivated people under that management style just cease being motivated or go someplace where their efforts are recognized. If you move down towards the middle of that grid, you'll see that there are managers who basically have some concern for people and some concern for results. Those managers are basically what we call 5-5. They do a good job. People know that they're appreciated, and people know that they're going to be held accountable to some extent. But there's sort of a halfway nature of that kind of management style. It doesn't really demand excellence. It demands okay performance and okay acceptance. It's very workable. In fact, it's probably the largest. Most management styles are in that category, but it doesn't really bring about the real level of performance you need to have in a good organization. If you go down to the bottom right-hand side of that grid, that's high concern for results and low concern for people. That's the if I want your opinion, I'll ask for it kind of manager. I didn't ask you for solutions. I just want you to do what I tell you to do and do it. My way or the highway kind of manager. Well, that kind of management style is very effective, but it's completely limited to the ability of that manager, because you're not going to get anything additional from any of the employees. You're going to get compliance, and they'll do what they're told to do, but that's about it. And That does not lead to any kind of excellence in organizations. And then in the upper right-hand corner, you have people who have a high concern for results and a high concern for people. And so that management style is called 9-9, and that, to me, that's like Superman, or somebody can jump tall buildings in a single bound or something. That's a very extraordinary manager, one who really does recognize people and encourages them, but holds them to high standards and won't accept excuses and demands performance. So those are the 5 management styles. I give all of that to you because my spiritual experience was very interesting. We were asked to do a self-assessment before we went to that management school. And of course, you might realize that I decided that, taking a good long look at myself, that I was a 9-9 manager. I was fantastic. I was intelligent and bright and charismatic, and I had always produced results, and so obviously I was 9-9. And so I went to management school, convinced that I was probably about as good as you could get. And after a week in the management school, and it was a week, we worked until 2-3 o'clock in the morning, many mornings, on these exercises we had. I had a team of just outstanding people, top-level managers from major corporations, and it was a good team, and we were a tough team, and yet we consistently did not do well in these group exercises, these team exercises. Why? Well, because it turns out that many of us, including me, and maybe even especially me, were too pig-headed to listen to anybody else. And so what came out of that, at the end of that whole thing, your team gave you an assessment of how they saw you. And by this time, I really wanted them to be honest with me, because I knew that they knew me better than almost anybody had ever known me in my life. And you know what they did? They told me, gave me words like bulldozer, dangerous. You know, what they saw in me was a tyrant. And I was going to push people around and get what I wanted, and I was nice about it, but I really didn't care what they had to say. I wanted what I wanted, period. I was 9-1, very clear-cut 9-1 manager. And if I couldn't get what I wanted, then I would go back and try to compromise and work something out. So what I found out was my dominant, if I had the authority in the organization, I was a 9-1 manager. If someone else had the authority, like my boss, then I would just cave in, and I would say, yes, sir, what do you want, sir? And try to get something of what I wanted, but not very much. In other words, if I had the whip, I beat people, and if I didn't have the whip, I cowered. Boy, did I not like that, but I knew it was true. And so when I came home from the Managerial Grid School on that trip home to Portland, Maine, I did a lot of thinking and a lot of reflecting, because this wasn't just true at work, it was true at home too. My kids, I was a tyrant with my kids. It really was my way or the highway. My wife, really and truly, I had to look at all aspects of my life, and I didn't like what I see. And so, a spiritual journey is like everything else in life. You have an ideal, you have a goal, you have where you want to be, and then you have to take a good long look at where you are. And if you do that, then you're going to find there's a gap. And that gap that's what you need to work on. And the Managerial Grid School, what the Managerial Grid School did for me is it gave me that gap. It showed me where I was against where I wanted to be. I did not want to be a tyrant. I did not want to be a dictator. I didn't, I wanted to be a good, kind, loving father, and a good, kind, loving boss, and a good, kind, loving husband. But I wasn't. And so I knew I had to change. And so I hope all of this helps you understand that spiritual journeys just are not some semi-religious experience. they're anything that'll help you really take a good long look at who you are, where you are, and where you want to be. At least that was true for me. I hope this has been helpful, and next time I'm going to talk about the next step that came along soon after my managerial grid school. Thanks much. Bye now.